You're the one of in the class. You're the one black person. You're the one this. You're the one that. And I think this Forbes 30 under 30 is just an affirmation that regardless of where you come from, you can still achieve a lot.
You tweeted, "To change the world is my only goal." Are you on that path to changing the world?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a special edition of Crosstalk today because I have a special friend next to me. First of all, it's a pleasure to call you a friend. Should I go with Dr. Matthew Clarke, Professor Matthew Clarke? How do we go with the introductions for today?
That's all. Just call me Matthew.
Just call you Matthew. Oh, humble and simple.
Yeah, both are correct. Well, I don't know.
Matthew, you're dressed for the beach already. Vacation time. How have you been enjoying your time back in Barbados right now?
Oh, I love it. I try to come back once a year, and I go straight to the beach. Right, it's something that you don't get very often, in the United States. California is too cold. East Coast is too dirty. So I love to come home and just unwind. No service, anything. So it was hard to get here, but yeah.
You said hard to get here because of the work aspect of life.
No, just physically hard. Physically hard to get from the hotel to here. I was like, which road do I take? That's true, but yeah, it wasn't philosophical. It was just
no. I know you're usually a deep man, so I was like, okay, do we talk about the work-life balance here? But no, the first thing I want to start on is the most recent accomplishment, something that I guess stands out above most at this stage, and that was being part of that Forbes 30 under 30 list, for the science. What type of feeling did that give you?
Honestly, it was a lot of different feelings. Some vindication, some affirmation that someone who's like black and foreign could achieve something that you see a lot of people achieve in the States. It's funny because I mentioned it in our group chat many years ago, and I said, what, I think I can go for this Forbes thing. I've been putting in work over the years, and you face a lot of setbacks. Being coming from Howard University, going to Stanford, where Howard is a historical black university, but Stanford is like you're the one of in the class. You're the one black person. You're the one this. You're the one that. So it's very isolating. And then from Stanford going to MIT, which is another leap in my professional career, it was hard at times. And I think this Forbes 30 under 30 is just some affirmation that regardless of where you come from, your background, if you didn't have parents who were lawyers, professors or anything like that, you can still achieve a lot, right? And I think it's a testament to being resilient, believing in yourself, and having good mentors, right? That's something that I really value. So the Forbes 30 and 30, that's a community win, right? It's a community win for small island people like myself who try to make their way in the United States.
And funny enough, there are two Barbadians now on that list. So it's Rihanna, and then there's Matthew Clarke.
It's me.
Well done, bud. Well done.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's been amazing to watch your journey, and I want to then take you to many years before that. Where you are currently, is it where you saw yourself? Because we both attended the same school, Queen's College. Where you are now, is this where you envisioned yourself? Because I know that you are someone who plans it out. Or have you taken a different route?
Yes and no. I always someone who dreamed big. That's something that was just very innate in myself. I wanted to design planes, right? When you're a youngster in school, I was drawing planes on papers and stuff. I always wanted to design planes, but as you grow older and you get exposed to a lot of different things, my aspirations, they didn't change, but they were redirected a little bit. So I went from just sketching on stuff to actually designing aircraft, and now I work on future concepts that you will probably see in the next 5 to 10 years that I can't speak about. And rockets and all these cool things, right? So yeah, a bit of both, yeah.
No problem. No, that makes me whip out the phone, right? Because I told you before we got here, I was able to dig up a couple things.
Yeah.
So back in 2012, at 9:16 p.m. on January 1st, you tweeted, "To change the world is my only goal. Just
really?
Wait and see." Yeah, that was you there.
Really?
Yes, that was you.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was you. So that's one of the things that so far.
I'm ambitious.
Are you on that path to changing the world?
Yeah, I think so. I have some things in store. There are a lot of things that I would like to do as someone who's black, number one, and someone from a small island state. One of the things I want to do is revolutionize the way we think about travel, right? There's no way that the cost of flying from Barbados to St. Lucia should be more expensive than flying from Barbados to Boston or Barbados to Miami, right? There's a lot of ways we can transform the transportation sector with a lot of electrification coming in and out, with a lot of sustainable aviation and using planes that are lighter, more fuel efficient, can really revolutionize and bring back that CARICOM spirit, right? But not only CARICOM, you're talking about the Philippines, talking about the places in the Nordic islands, that there are a lot of small islands, a lot of different archipelagos in the world can really benefit from these new forms of aviation and transportation that I'm looking to do. And then within the United States of America, I want to make people think about transportation a little bit differently. The United States is very car-centric, but if you look at a map of the United States, within every 50 kilometers of anybody in the United States, there's the airport, right? The United States is built for air travel, but only 0.6% of the airports in America handle most of the air transit. So that means there's a lot of airports that are being federally maintained every year that are not being used. There's a lot of ways we can transform the shipping and trading, the movement of people and goods and services within the whole world, not only in the Caribbean and small island states, but also in larger continents, right? The United States, Brazil is another cap area, India. These are very big markets that I think with the technology that we as engineers and aerospace engineers and rocket scientists are developing, we can really make a big difference, and we can really make it easier for the common person who doesn't have the amount of money, to travel from Barbados to St. Lucia right now.
So a lot of what you spoke about, I guess, are the principal reasons behind why you would have founded the Laboratory for Electric Aircraft Design and Sustainability.
Yeah, it was, as they put it, Leeds. We want to be leaders in our field. It took me a while to I spent a lot of time. I was in an acronym generator, like, okay, what is the best acronym? But that lab is meant to do a lot of things, right? We start very small scale, very technical, with looking at electric batteries, looking at different chemistries of different batteries, looking at how does noise impact the environment, and we build all the way up to how does it impact society, right? Some research labs focus on very, technical stuff, and some research labs focus on impact. My lab is unique because it focuses on the whole gamut, right? I want to make sure that when I train engineers and the scientists of the next generation, that they are not only technically sound, but understand, what's the impact of their work, right? That's very critical for engineers. Many times in the past, there are several examples of engineers designing things in a black box and hoping that it fixes society, right? We need to understand the impact of our actions on society.
Now, a lot of that is directly tied to being professor at the University of Illinois.
Yep.
Completed your first semester as a professor. What was that like for you?
Well, I am way younger in some things than the people I teach, right? I'm a very young professor. So, you got to balance the fact that, sometimes you're guiding people who are older than you, who have maybe more experience in certain areas. But the whole experience was fun. I mean, teaching is something that I'm very passionate about. And honestly, as a professor, you get to choose your own path, right? That was one of the biggest things I became a professor for. I can literally wake up and do what I want to do or do what I love the rest of my life. And it's good, building a lab, hiring people. I mean, I just hired someone from Italy. I hired someone from India. I have someone from Netherlands, hiring the best and the brightest in the world to accomplish a common goal, which is, improving transportation and improving aviation sustainability.
I guess a lot of what you do also gives you lessons as well, because in one stage you were the student, now you are instructing those students. So I kind of want to get into the lessons that you're currently learning as a professor.
You got to be patient, right? You see, if I wanted to just do engineering, I would go to join some engineering firm or engineering company. There's Boeing, there's Airbus, they're buying planes. The reason I became a professor because I want to make sure that I'm teaching like young adults, right? All of the different things that go into making the engineer, right? The engineer of tomorrow, not the engineer of yesterday. We're not talking about the locomotive train engineer. We're talking about the engineer that thinks about the society and the impact, right? That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Another one is to think boldly. Right now, I mean, if you look right now, the planes in the sky have looked the same way for the past 60 years. It's a tube and a wing, right? I encourage myself daily and also my students to think boldly about, okay, what are the applications of air travel going to be like, right? In the next 10 years, the next 15 years. And then answer those questions. So we start off with the problem and then work back to the solution instead of, designing a similar tubular wing and even maximizing efficiency by 0.01%, right? We're looking for 60-70% improvements in efficiency. So those are the things that thinking boldly. And I think to my tweet many years ago, that's the idea, right? You want to think outside the box, and there's a lot of, you may get some pushback, but if you believe in yourself, and if you have the right mentors, you can go for it.
So a lot of what you're saying also has to do with impact that you're looking to have, which takes me now to something else that you would have talked about, and it was a case of impactful research over publication count.
Yeah.
Something you talked about. So I want to ask you, in the long run, what do you want your research to say about you?
That's a good question. That's a good point. In academia right now struggles with the idea of how many papers. But if you look back in the time with Einstein and von Neumann and all those guys that you hear about, they didn't have a lot of publications, but they were very impactful, right? In terms of impact, I want people to remember me as someone who challenges common thought, right? And right now there's a goal of reaching net zero carbon emissions by 2050, right? That's the goal of the aerospace industry right now. How do we get zero carbon emissions by 2050? But no one really knows how to get there. There's honestly a lot of lip service, right? I want to be the person who's known for actually making the physical steps to get to that net zero emissions, right? That's very important if you want to have an impact on global warming and all these different environmental issues that really affect not really the bigger countries, but the smaller ones, right? We're next to the beach, right? What happens if there's a 1% rise in temperature, right? That's a significant impact to the Caribbean economy and tourism in general.
All right, so back to the tweets again. No, January, February, March, April. On April 4th, 2012, you tweeted, "My dreams always seem so far away. ...
Whoa!
Yes, that's what you tweeted on April 4th. And I guess it's fair to say currently you are living, I guess, a part of your dreams now in 2024.
Yeah.
But how I'm going to connect this here is to tell you that obviously, yes, there's dreams, but also risk attached to chasing your dreams.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting journey for you in terms of going from what was your bachelor's in mechanical engineering. Yeah. There we go. Then it was off to Stanford, and it was aeronautics and astronautics that you would have done both your master's and PhD in. For you, what would you say is amongst the biggest risks that you've taken in the pursuit of your dreams?
I've taken many risks. Many risks. First of all, leaving Barbados. And living in the Caribbean, leaving something that you're familiar with in general. I find that it's a big ask for Caribbean people because Caribbean is nice. Right? We don't have the same problems we have overseas. But
even just the way you're dressed tells you that.
Right? It's nice, right? But like leaving the Caribbean was one of my biggest risks. I remember playing cricket, and it was a case of like playing for my country that summer, or going to university. And any sane person would choose playing cricket, right? But I spoke to my coach, who's no longer here with us, and he said, "You know what? You should really go to university." And that was the beginning of a journey going to Howard, a new environment in Washington D.C. and they're in mechanical engineering. I wanted to do aerospace engineering, but it was not offered. And I remember every single time I got a chance to try to insert myself in exposure to aerospace, even though it wasn't offered in my university. And then once I got the chance to go to Stanford, I remember I got admitted to Stanford, right? And I was over the moon, but I had no funding. And I remember I got admitted in January, and I had no funding. And the deadline to actually choose which university you want to go to was April 15th. April 13th came around, still no funding. And I was like, crap, my dreams are going to end, right? I was like, crap, it's over. And I remember calling Stanford and saying, hey, I'm, from the Caribbean, I'm really interested in doing aerospace. I just don't have the money or the support to get there. And I remember an email came through on April 14th saying that they just got funding. I ran down from the top floor of the mechanical engineering building at Howard to the bottom floor to sign a paper to fax it that same night to agree to come to Stanford. And I got in the last day possible. And yeah, that was the beginning of a journey at Stanford where you come there and you're around people from MIT, Indian Institute of Technology, Delft University, people from all over the world who are just geniuses. I'm talking rocket scientists from birth, right? And I just felt out of place. And just going there and just learning from them and humbling myself, a few tears were shed. I felt isolated. I felt a little bit scared at first, just being in a new environment with not the strength of the formal training. But I pushed through, and that was another big challenge to face. I think those are some of my biggest, things that I had to overcome to get to where I am. So those are some major risks. And then there were some risks in between there. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
No, it's funny that you said, you consider them rocket scientists from birth, and we consider you a rocket scientist from birth, because you actually are.
I actually am a rocket scientist.
I was able to go back and see, when you got your robe, and it was like you were amongst what would have been, I guess, a select few in terms of Caribbean black people.
Yeah, very, very small.
Yeah. Now, all of that leads me to question why you, in the sense of so many people dream, so many people, have their goals, have ideas, but very few people actually tick the boxes of their dreams. I know last night you were telling, hey, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, this, that, and what's not. But genuinely, why do you believe that you, Matthew Clarke, were able to, I guess, go above and beyond what was, I guess, supposed to happen for a black boy from Barbados?
It's a bit of Caribbean charm. But honestly, it's a bit of a lot of things. You need to have grit. Right? You need to have grit because there are times when it's challenging and you're back against the wall. And you're the only one all the time. I mean, I've been in some high up places, right? Where we have to make some big decisions about things that are happening in the skies right now, right? It takes a lot of grit to be there, but also it also takes some luck too, right? And by luck I mean calculated luck, in the sense of that, and you can attest to this too. You need to have mentors in rooms advocating for you when you're not in the room, right? And I had a few of those along the way, and I think that came about by helping people with the idea that you're not interested in what they can do for you. Like, I help a lot of people in general. I don't always think, I help somebody do some project or do XYZ and what do I get in return for them. I help people out of the goodness of my heart, and then somewhere along the line, along the way, I see the return, but that's never in the back of my mind when I help people, right? And I think that is what also, by these people I mean my mentors themselves. So I think a bit of grit and a bit of selflessness too. I mean, to make sure that you have that care and attention for people around you, and it comes back, right? It comes back. It may not come back tomorrow or next week, but it'll come back many years down the line.
I know as we kind of get a little closer to the end of our chat, which funny enough we never saw coming because this ended up being scripted and planned 10 hours, 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
Over 2 rum punches.
2 rum punches. I have to get rum punch. I'm on a quest in Barbados for the best rum punch.
We can make sure before you leave, you have the best rum punch available.
Okay.
But that is one thing to accomplish. And now, for you, do you ever see an end to what you dream of or what you want to accomplish in what you're doing? Because they always say that dreamers never stop dreaming. So the case that you hit 80 and ideas still come to you, but do you see a day whereby you would hang up the cap, so to speak, and say, I have been able to do what I was meant to do on this earth?
To be frankly honest, no. I'm always hungry. There's so many times I take up my phone and write something, and it's probably an idea. Like there are ideas that are always running through my head. I'm at a point in my life right now where I have to hire a whole bunch of people who are older than me because I just don't have the time to do it. I just have so many things to do. I think the idea of dreamers always dreaming, that's true. Like, I'm always thinking about the next big thing, the next, what's the next thing to conquer? What's the next thing? How can I help more people, right? I do engineering, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to help people, right? That's always the goal in mind, but you can never stop helping people. So I think, I always keep dreaming. I'm always keep planning and plotting.
All right, and finally, now, for others out there like you, and in that sense, whether or not from Barbados, from the Caribbean, Black, without the finances, whatever the scenario is, because there's so many different boxes that go into making up who you are. For those who have, whether or not it's similar dreams or just aspirations of doing anything great in their life, because you're doing great things, man, to be very honest. But for any other person out there who simply wants to go above and beyond what is said to be them in this world, you started 2024. What would be your advice to them?
Make a plan. I clearly have had plans for a long time. Make a plan, and secondly, figure out what people on the way can help you achieve that, right? And get to know them on a personal level, right? Because in this world of connections help to build your career, and you can then be that person connecting the path for others, or leading the path for others. So I would say make a plan, form connections, and then be resilient, right? There's nothing in life comes easy, especially if you don't pass the brown paper bag test, right? So I think those things are very important, right? And also have a sense of community and foundation, right? There's a reason I come home. It's not only the beach, but I come home to be with my friends from Queen's College, to be close to them, because they know me before I became, the person I am today, right? So they can talk the same nonsense that from school days that I like, and it helps to ground me before I go back out to this world, where all the cameras are on me, or all media, etc., is on me. So that's what I would say. Just make a plan. I believe in planning.
Well, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure having this extremely impromptu chat with you. And
I'm going to the beach.
I was saying, what is next from here? No, you jumping straight into the water.
I am going to.
All right, well, Matt is heading to the water, but that brings us to the end of this chat, my boy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And continue dreaming, continue doing.
Thank you.
And I can see you in next 30.
Yep. Cheers.